Hello, if anyone is there. I don't think anyone's there yet, and that is cool because this has been quite a shenanigan this evening, trying to get a live stream going down with fellow YouTuber Rance Derek. It was going to be a nice, chill, relaxed, funny, hopefully, not too serious live stream. It is both of our birthdays today, but Derek's having some pretty wicked tech issues at the moment, so we're going to have to postpone. So we started here, we were going to go back over to his channel, and then back over here. So whoever is out there that doesn't know the story, that's the story. Morning glory. So I feel awfully strange. I've never done a live stream by myself before. So I have my wonderful, I guess you can call him my producer. That sounds very fancy, but his name is Dave, and he's a fellow Canadian. He's been helping me out with some of the tech stuff on my channel. So thank you, Dave. He's going to field some of your questions so I can just focus on chatting with you guys a bit more intimately. It feels strange just talking to myself, but I know you're all out there, so it's a weird environment. I'm not like AJ. I haven't done this like 30 times, so hopefully I can channel my inner AJ and tap into something tonight that maybe the timing's good. Maybe the timing is good that this, happened. If nothing else, I'll take advantage of it. So I've been wanting to make a video. Just bear with me. I'm just going to make sure I've got my messages open. Oh, people are getting antsy. I do apologize. You guys, thank you so much, by the way, for your patience. You all rock so much. So was going to talk about this, the last couple of weeks, haven't found the right time. It was going to be a polished video, but screw it. We'll just go with it tonight because I had some interesting conversations today with some commenters on my videos. I don't know if like the universe knew it was my birthday and was just messing with me, but wow, some vitriol just for today, just for my birthday. Of course, that last couple videos I made, the one about the Moroccan terrorist attacks, I had mentioned at the end that I don't condone the evil of, obviously radical Islam or radical leftism or anything else, but I also don't condone, the radicalism of what we would call the far right or the alt-right. A lot of conservatives don't think this exists. Unfortunately, I didn't either, but it does exist. And since I've hit about 1,000 subscribers, I know Joe Hayes had said the exact same thing. He's been sort of inundated with a lot of very interesting characters from this group of people. And essentially, he's had to kind of field these comments. And it doesn't matter what he says, it's always the same kind of condescending stuff. And it's the same for me. It's becoming very predictable how they'll act. And there's a very unique personality trait to these people that it's not just what they say, it's how they say it. It's always condescending. It's always from anonymous people. And they're always extremely angry and full of hatred. And that's the reason I don't follow the ideology, because I can't follow people who are that angry all the time. Just the way they speak to other people is so just not who I am. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons I don't follow that ideology, but that's a big one. So anyway, someone popped onto my channel today and ended up kind of just getting into a conversation. I guess I fed the troll. I'm sorry, Northern Patriot, I wasn't supposed to, but sometimes you feel led to kind of just dive in. I kind of made some jokes, made fun of him. Anyways, it just got him more and more angry, which is kind of funny to watch, actually, because he was very predictable. You say God bless you to a really angry atheist that hates Jews. That'll really, really tick them off, just as a piece of information. So got into a discussion about atheism, and it was very similar to many discussions I've had where I can't figure out why an atheist online is trying to convert a Christian or vice versa. I don't see why people would actually think that that would be successful. But he spent a great deal of time and energy for someone that didn't believe to convince me of how stupid and gullible I was and whatnot. So just thinking about my renewed faith and how strong I am in it made me want to do this video today, because there is nothing that can shake it. And that's coming from someone who walked away from this faith for many, many years. So that's what I want to talk about tonight. I want to talk about the prodigal daughter returning, the prodigal daughter being myself. I left, and I didn't ever leave God, but I left my faith pretty hard. And I would like to discuss why, because I have mentioned it on my channel many times, and I've never told you what happened or why I walked away from the church. So I'm going to get into that tonight. By the way, I've been told I've been getting lots of happy birthdays. Thank you very much. I had a kind of bad day, as I mentioned in the beginning of the other stream. Nothing terrible. Everyone is nice. It's just, people, just one of those days, right? Just things weren't quite kosher, I guess you could say. Is that what the kids are saying these days? So thank you. Your birthday wishes and wonderful words, as always, mean the world to me, and it's kind of cheering me up. So anyways, I'm going to get into this after a quick sip of water. All right, talking to myself on this screen is getting less and less bizarre as the time passes. So I'll try to make this as brief as possible. It's going to be longer than my usual video. I will try to keep it under half an hour, since you guys have been waiting around a lot this evening. So I was, raised in a Christian church. I've mentioned that. I grew up baptized Lutheran. We changed churches to the Pentecostal church when I was about 13 years old. So that's where I spent my kind of developing years, my high school years. And I don't know how many of you have been to a true Pentecostal church, but yes, I have seen it all. Speaking in tongues, people dancing in the aisles, prophetic visions and things like that. Lots of praying on people, lots of very uppity music, all that kind of stuff. So I've seen it all. Anything that you've seen in a documentary about this sort of thing, I've lived through it. I've been to lots of youth groups and youth camps sort of things. I was a really good Christian girl in high school. I was very obedient. I was very willing, very loving. I loved my God, and I was going places with it. I was learning how to chord on my piano. That's where I learned my piano, through a pastor that was willing to take the time to teach me how to use guitar chords instead of what I felt was a little more restrictive, which was classical piano, which of course doesn't actually do well for me. I have very small hands. Don't know if you guys know this. Beethoven, Chopin, these guys had ridiculously long fingers. You know what they say about that? But anyways, so very hard to play these songs. Anyways, playing chording and that kind of thing was always more my passion as I got to learn. So I was playing on the worship team for the youth band. I was doing solos, going to conferences on the weekends, reading my Bible very religiously. Really, really faithful kid. And there came a point in my teenage years, about 15, 16, that we got a new pastor, and he was a new youth pastor. The old one had left, unfortunately, got a new job elsewhere. And this new guy that came in was a very aggressive, very pushy character. So I don't know if I could describe his energy to you, but he's the type of person that is in your face, doesn't know you, but is happy to tell you everything about your life, even if you're 16 years old. So he was very aggressive, and both in his preaching style and just how he dealt with people in general. He would go into these long, intense, I guess they weren't speeches, they were technically sermons, but he would have these really weird examples, and he would throw things and break things, and things would crash, and he had lighting, and everything was like a show. And the teenagers loved it because he was preying on their adrenaline and their testosterone and everything else. And I never, ever felt comfortable. I always had a knot in my gut around this guy. Never got to know him, but a friend of mine passed on to him that I was dating a non-Christian guy, which I was. And he brought me into his office and gave me a lecture one day on how I was going down the wrong path. This started to rub me the wrong way. My dad was right, mad. He doesn't have a right to say this to my daughter. He's not your father. I'm your father, that kind of thing. Things were getting worse. There was different events going on. I wasn't allowed to partake because I wouldn't commit to, breaking up with my partner that I was dating. I wouldn't commit to some really extreme things. People were quitting teams, giving up scholarships, doing all kinds of stuff, and joining what he called Warriors Call, which was some kind of like intensive morning Bible thing where you all learned how to witness to everyone. And he was all about counterculture. You got to fight, you got to be aggressive, right? That was his mode. Well, you've watched me long enough, I assume, to know that's not really my mode. Didn't really work for me. But, I kept going to church, kept doing my thing. There came a point where he came up to me once behind me when I was praying. I was kneeling at the in church in front of lots of people praying at the end of a service with the music going in silence. And he whispered in my ear, "God is telling me that you're falling behind the others." Now, that might mean nothing to you when you're like, my age now or older. I have a backbone now, but I was very young and I was very gentle, and I was very much trusting these different people that were supposedly men of God. And beyond that comment, there was many more. I won't bore you with all of it, but needless to say, there was a lot of anxiety and things got really bad. And I came home one day and I just broke down, and I kind of had a bit of a tantrum. I was crying. I was very upset. My dad asked what was wrong, and I told him where I was coming from. I just felt like I couldn't do anything right, and my friends were pushing me, and I wasn't sure if I was being good enough. And he said, that's not of God. If you feel that way, that's because of him. Maybe you need to think about this, pray about it. And so I decided to leave that church. A close friend of mine pulled me out of there, took me over to a wonderful, much more sane church, where actually the pastor of that church, he now lives up here in the city that I am, and I'm going to be returning this pretty soon here, actually, now that I don't work Sundays. So very interesting that I've met him again. Thank God for him, because if it wasn't for some good Christian people, I don't know if I'd have ever gone back. So I did go back to church for a couple of years, to a normal church, kind of, regained some normalcy, played on the worship team. Nothing was ever the same, though, for me. After that, I didn't feel the same pull. I wasn't as close to God. I was tainted, I was damaged, I was angry, and I didn't trust anybody. So when I moved away for university, about 2 hours away from home, I never stepped foot in a church for 6 years. Didn't touch my Bible, didn't sing a Christian song, nothing. I just shut it out. Now, the only thing I kept doing, no matter what, was Christmas Eve service every December 24th, candlelight service. I told Zach King this last night. He said he'd never heard of a candlelight service, so maybe this is more rare and beautiful than I'm aware. But every year I would do that. Otherwise, not really much of anything. Now, this was the time when I dove into New Ageism, bit of paganism. That's something I'm going to dive into in a very different video again, so this doesn't get too long. I'd love to talk about the things I learned, the scary things I learned, dangerous things, and all of the good things as well, and the balance between it. But during that time, I was seeking, some meaning and some happiness. I was in a really bad relationship, going through health stuff. It was like a triple whammy. I had health stuff, I had an abusive relationship, abusive spouse, and I had this strange experience of, now I'll clarify now, there was no sexual abuse. I know that's often the story that comes to mind when a woman says, oh, I was 16 and I had a bad experience with a pastor. Well, that's what people normally think. No, nothing like that. Although this guy admitted that he had some kind of, I think, pornography addiction or whatever in his past. I don't even know at this point what his intentions were with anyone. All I know is he shat all over me, and it didn't really help my self-esteem all that much. I also lost friends during this time because I wouldn't join, and they were in like what seemed like a cult. And it was a really, really weird, bizarre time. A lot of people left the church. Just people were getting the heebie-jeebies from this guy. He's just too aggressive, right? And so after all of this, after leaving it all, after diving into every possible thing, Joe Hayes has mentioned on his channel many times that he left Christianity and essentially, he was trying to find a way to speak out against it or, prove it wrong. But ultimately, the more he saw of I'm paraphrasing, sorry, Joe, if you're watching, paraphrasing terribly, but just essentially watching Christianity get attacked and watching people just come down on other people, watching it drift away in society, sort of brought back his interest. And I have to say that that's been happening to me a lot this past year since I changed my political views and everything else. Of course, I've come through a huge, huge journey, but spirituality has been a huge part of that. And I started it back in the spring, back in the winter, I guess, in spring, but it's continued on. And the more people attack me for it, the more hatred I see, the more that Jesus stirs up anger, the more I believe in him. Because I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be fully honest to all of my wonderful spiritual viewers that have been so helpful to me. The one thing that hasn't, or the one thing that's kept me from coming back to my faith fully for a while is the belief of, many people have different names for God, which I still believe. There's a lot of cultures that have a lot of similarities, a lot of religions rather, but there's been the struggle with Jesus. Is Jesus who he said he is, right? And when I had a meeting with this pastor here, he mentioned, essentially Jesus is either who he says he is, he's a complete nutbag, or he's a liar. What do you think it is? And I'm still pondering on all of this, but I don't think he's a nutbag and I don't think he's a liar. So what does that leave me with? And the more that I see the anger he brings out and the absolute hatred, the more that I think, yeah, this is the God that I stand by, that I worship. And to see the actual sacrifice and the actual goodness, as compared to so many other religions that shall remain nameless in this particular live stream, because I'm not bringing it up on my birthday. But it's definitely something, yeah, people have used the name of God very improperly. But if you look at the actual Savior, there's not much bad that you can say. I mean, if you hate Jesus Christ, I think there's something wrong. So having these conversations has really brought me back to my faith, and it's solidified my feet into the ground more and more each time. And having that kind of like near death, wanting to die experience this winter, going through that kind of trauma, going through the stuff that I did the past 10 years, without God being beside me, I wouldn't have made it. So I like to see it as, one of my viewers mentioned, that I had walked through the valley of the shadow of death. And I don't know if I would say it's quite that serious, but it certainly felt it. And, you're not dying, but death is reaching out for you at every moment, whispering your name. And you're walking through it, and you meet some people along the way, right? You meet some nice people that are also going through a valley, and they want to help. So you talk to them, and you think you're, I don't know, bonding, and you're going to get better, and they're going to try to help you along your way, because they also want to walk out of this valley. And then you realize as you get to the end and you decide, hey, I'm ready for my ascent, they don't want to come with you, and these people are dragging you down. That's sort of how I felt for a great deal of my time essentially on the left, and spiritually as much. I look at it all as one big part and parcel, politically, spiritually, socially. I was a lefty, I guess you could say, although I know that that's not fair to put those comparisons on it. Sorry, I was just checking to see that there was no questions or tech issues. I see everything is good. So I'll digress a bit there and just continue to kind of the present of where I am now. So about 2 months ago, maybe a month and a half, I was watching some YouTube video. It's irrelevant. I was listening to someone talk about a sermon, or pardon me, a verse in the Bible. And I went to get my old Bible. It's a very old Bible. I got it on the date of my birth baptism, like my infant baptism, although I have been since baptized in the Pentecostal church, like full water submersion. I think I was about 13. And I found this Bible that I hadn't used in so long. It's just been sitting in my bookcase. It's a Precious Moments Bible. I don't know if you guys know Precious Moments. They were like figurines and books, kind of really cute little nice drawings, little parables and lessons for kids, something I kind of collected growing up because of this Bible. And it was always very dear to me, but I hadn't used it. It was in a box. I didn't really use it. It's the nice old King James version, the old, I like the kind of linguistics of it. And I opened it up to check out this verse, and I noticed that I had written in big, gaudy writing. I would have been maybe 9 to 12 is when I wrote this big and awful. In I think pen or possibly pencil was written Job 33 on the corner of my Bible. And instead of looking up the other verse, I dove into Job 33 because I wondered why my 10 to 12-year-old self would have written something out of Job, because I was a heavy thinking kid, as a deep thinking kid. I would, write down different verses, and I was kind of getting messages from God, if you believe in that sort of thing, right? But Job is a pretty intense book, and it's not really a very palatable book for a young person. So I'm, was a little surprised. So I went to Job 33, and I'm not going to read it, but if you have a Bible, I encourage you to check it out. Maybe I'll post it in the description. I'm not going to read it, partly because I'll get emotional and partly for time's sake. But essentially, it's the part of Job's story where his prophet, his friend, is saying to him, all of the things that he had gone through, that he will come out of the pit. And he says that he's come through the pit 3 times. So essentially walked away and come back, which is pretty much the amount of times that I've kind of come and gone from God. Because I did have an experience a few years ago where I was the church councilman, I guess, chairman. I was playing the hymns and everything every week. But it was too intense and it pushed me away. I've come back and forth. So it was a lot of messages that were very similar. And then there was a point where it said that the person would be so thin and so sick that their bones would stick out where they shouldn't be seen. And at the time, I'm still getting there, but I was just coming back from, I'd lost a lot of weight when I was sick. It's down to about 94 pounds at one point, and I'm small, but I was pretty bony, and there were bones sticking out where they shouldn't. And it was talking about, just all of these trials that Job had gone through. And of course, this was, God allowing the devil to test Job, is how it all went. And he promised the devil that Job couldn't be had, that Job would be faithful. And there were so many times where Job called out. I continued reading the whole book after that, calling out against God and hating God and hating his life and wanting to die. And I read and I read and I cried and I cried. I see I'm still emotional. This is why I've been nervous to do this video. Because every word was just so true. And I'm not going to say I'm as epic as Job, because I'm not, but we all have a purpose. And you can sense it. And when you start to go against that, the dissonance between you and God is so great. And I think that was happening to me this spring, after such a long drought where I just wouldn't submit and let him in at all. And to read this from my 10-year-old self, the most obscure reference in this time, was really spectacular. And the best part was that it wasn't just some emotional thing that was negative. It was positive. It talked about returning, coming out of it and shining and being better. And this is a very, very big paraphrase. But when I saw that, that was a very big solidifying moment for me that I am on the right path. And ever since that moment, even though I haven't got into it too much on my channel, because my channel is sort of more secular, but God has weaved his way into every single crevice of this channel, into my relationships, into my friendships that I've built, my comment section, the hymns that I've sang, the stories that you have told me. An 88-year-old that went for surgery and listens to my hymns, and now he's listening to them while he heals, and his family is so grateful. This channel isn't about money. Every dollar you guys spend to help me get my new computer is so appreciated, but ultimately these are the moments that I live for, when my gifts that God gave me are being used properly. And I now see, looking back for so many years, all the gifts that I thought were squandered, my dreams, politics and music. I thought they were done. I got sick. I went through too much crap and I made too many mistakes. And now at age, well, 33, I'm 33 now, I'm getting a second chance. And because I went through what I went through, which I would call like a boot camp intensity training, I can be a far more, I could say useful, but I mean, I guess that sounds like a strange word. I'm a much more of a powerhouse, put it that way. Whatever I was meant to be, I can actually do it now. And I couldn't have done this channel without God's help. So for me to go any further without acknowledging this, I think would be a shame. Um, because everything, including Dave, who's so graciously helping me, Richard, who's helping me with music, advice from friends, like I said, all of it is, it's all been God. It's all just been something I'm just going with, and I'm getting a lot of signs. Everything that's happening has been pointing me to a topic I need to cover, stuff being on my heart. It's been very cathartic. So, I mean, this has all been a manifestation of that. And to see it all happening, thankfully, I guess, when I think about it, it's a good thing I did this video. It cheers me up. It makes me feel a little more calm, a little more grounded, right? And, you know, to have these atheists yelling at me and telling me how, you know, there's no such thing and you're being ridiculous. I don't feel like I'm doubting. I feel like, well, you haven't experienced what I've experienced, and for that I'm sorry. You know, may God bless you, may God keep you, may God's face shine upon you and give you peace. I'll just start benedicting, you know, blessing everyone against their will. I've made a joke that sometimes with these people, they're so angry and so, I would almost say, evil and hateful, that when I say anything, you say something about God, it's almost like on like Supernatural, watching them like throw holy water on demons and stuff. Ah, God, you know, it's kind of funny. People get really mad. The more angry they get about this, the more that I know that my channel and my denouncement of such behaviors is on the right track. And I don't particularly care if people think I'm stupid. I answer to God. I don't answer to anonymous people on the internet. And that's something that going forward is sort of my motto, I guess, behind the scenes. I will always try to make this channel, even if it's not preachy and Christian, it will always be motivated by goodness. And I'm going to try to keep prayer as a part of it in behind the scenes and have people praying for me. If you guys can pray for me, I really appreciate it. Coming back into this and going through challenges, I'm being tempted to walk away from it all the time. And I don't plan to, but I could use the strength. So I don't want to get too much more into this. I just wanted to share why I am a Christian, essentially, at this age, with what I've gone through. It wasn't a decision that was made lightly. I had to go through a lot of faithless moments. But I'll tell you one thing, you can't lie to yourself all that much. You can't lie to your heart. Your heart will always tell you it's true. So when I was living out on Vancouver Island, and by the way, I'll just interrupt myself here. If you guys have any questions, comments, anything you really want relayed to me, throw a star by it, and Dave's going to send me a screenshot, and then I will make sure to address all that when I'm done yip-yapping here for a second. When I lived on the island, a lot of agnostics, a lot of atheists out there. I made really good friends, some of my best friends who I've since lost because of political beliefs, sadly. But what can you do, right? That's the way this game is played. It's a blood sport. But they were highly atheist, and they knocked it a lot, and they made fun a lot, and they knew that I was Christian growing up, and that I still, you know, at least believed in a God, right? I was practicing energy work, and I was into all that other stuff. I never got rid of spirituality, but they would just mock and poke. And my neighbor was, you know, a really successful Canadian musician, had the whole world handed to him, got to spend his whole life playing music and helping people make music, had a beautiful family, you know, kids and everything else, and just was angry and bitter and hated God, and, well, didn't believe in God, yet he seemed to hate God, and he sure thought anyone who believed was sure just a dumbass, and he would make fun and make fun. And I remember once, there must have still been some Christian in me, because I snapped and said, listen, like, it's extremely disrespectful. I wouldn't be getting through this illness if it wasn't for God, right? And there, even though I was saying it, I didn't even believe it, but I was so defensive. And that's something I notice now is looking back, I don't think I ever really left, right? God certainly doesn't leave you. That's the footprints thing, right? You know, why is there only one set? Well, this is where I carried you. And God carried me through some shit. I don't know if I should say God and a swear word in the same sentence, but hey, this is how it all built up. So for any of you out there who are agnostic, atheist, I will never push this on you, I promise. But I hope you understand that many Christians aren't just taking this lightly. For some of us, this has been pretty earth-shattering. And I'm either completely stupid, completely insane, or there's something to it when I say that I've come back to my faith after everything I went through and all the crap and all the, really bad people that I had expressing that faith to me. I'm still here, and I don't blame God for my illness, and I can try to use it to make myself better, and I can recognize the lessons. And I'm not a saint. I am a ridiculous sinner, and I have a terrible temper, and you guys don't see it, but I do. I can be a total spaz. I'm a total type A personality. I am too hard on myself. I'm difficult to live with at times because I have, neuroses about the way things are control-wise. Like, I'm just being honest. I've got my issues. There's no question. But without having a faith, without having some meaning, I know Jordan Peterson's not really even a Christian per se, but he did help me to understand what it means to have purpose again. And you can find purpose without God, absolutely. But there is sort of a God-sized hole, a spiritual part of us. If we don't feed that, you die a little inside. And I can promise that that happens because I let it happen. And I'm crawling my way out of it, and I'm happier and stronger than ever. But the loneliness that I felt, I mean, did I not sing? What did I sing? What a friend we have in Jesus. Oh, the pain we experience, all because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. And I sat in misery, and I never asked God for help. I just tried to fight through it and fight through an abusive relationship and fight through an illness and fight through living away from home and rebelling against my parents and rebelling against God and rebelling against Christianity, because Christianity is so mean and so bigoted, and diving into anything else, including being one of those people that praised, oh yeah, I'm not going to say the name of the religion, and I still won't, but you know what I'm talking about. I would praise that over top of it. Well, think of all the reasons they're mad at us, and think of, it's just insane, right? And then I see things like this church taking down a cross in Edmonton, and all I can think is that's just so bloody sad. And I know where I stand on this. So I thank you guys for listening. I will check out my messages now and see if there are any sort of things. All right, we've got Jesus, Jesus. I still don't know how to pronounce your name. You have to tell me. My singing, any news on that gig? Yes, I don't know which gig you mean, but I think you're talking about Mick. Mick is a fellow Canadian musician. I haven't had a chance to do any music with him yet, but we've been chatting over the holidays, and we are going to collaborate on some rocker style stuff. So I'm going to be singing behind some of his music that he's written, which is a little edgier, which I'm so jazzed about because I love to sing. Like, I'm happy to croon out to, like, Alice in Chains, like Chris Cornell. I love to, like, belt out some good old tunes, but I can't do that when I'm sitting here with my piano. So I'm excited to kind of collaborate with a different side of myself. I have a big thing coming up. I can't talk much about it till it's finalized, but be doing a pitch for a new business opening up in Scotland that's hoping to go a little more worldwide. Someone saw my How They Rulia video that Tommy Robinson had shared out, that Ezra had put up from the Rebel. And I have myself a gig for that, which is pretty cool. That could lead to sort of a long-term thing. And beyond that, I'm still working on something exciting with the PPC. That'll be unleashed in about 3 weeks. So yeah, within about a month here, you guys will see more singing-wise. Now I have my new computer. I just got to pump out the music. And hymns every Sunday as well, of course. So, all right, we've got Wayne. Jesus warned his followers that those who follow Jesus will be mocked. Yes, this is true, and persecuted, right? And I think to remember that is so important. It helps take it a little easier because you're like, okay, right, he said this would happen. And I do like to think that my mom said this to me growing up. Thank God for my mom. I used to get so annoyed with all her Christian advice, but of course, parents are often right. I don't think they're watching this, but they will, and they'll be happy to hear me saying that. But she used to say, the devil's not going to try to take down someone that he's already taken down. He's going to try to take down someone that he knows is a threat, someone that can actually do enough good in the world to get rid of some of the evil that he spreads. And so the closer you get, sometimes the harder things get. And that's why I've mentioned in my last video that, just because you're being more honest with yourself and going on the right path doesn't mean it's easier. It's actually harder in many, many ways. But at least you have the sense of meaning and purpose, because without it, it's just a waste. So question, did you hear what an LGBT activist did to pro-life Christian conservative Ontario PC party member Sam Oosterhoff? I did not. So if somebody wants to either write that out or I can do some research on it later, but now I'm curious. LGBT activists, not people of, not necessarily just the average person that's, a lesbian or gay, but LGBT activists are like straight up either just mad, angry, or I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them. I'd like to think it's like an insane amount of trauma and they're just super angry. I'm not really sure. But yeah, if you have some info, that'd be great. I've got John. Excellent. I'm happy someone wants some rock and roll. Oh, what breed is my dog? You guys totally cheered me up. I can't be sad talking about my dog. And yes, you spelled it correctly. Her name is Izzy. Izzy is a border collie cocker spaniel cross. So she's basically a border collie in personality, in face, in long hair, in energy, in alertness. But she has these really cute little cocker spaniel legs and a whole bunch of fuzz and fur on her ears and around her feet, because of the cocker spaniel, and she has birding instinct. So she's a really really good dog. We rescued her from the Humane Society in, I don't know, maybe 2016. It's been 3 years, so I guess 2015. And yeah, she's been amazing. So I also have a pug named Pedro. He is almost 9. He's getting gray and old. I rescued him off a farm. And I have a cat named Georgia, who is a again, a rescue that I like. I'm a sucker. People shouldn't let me into the SPCA ever. I was there to walk dogs and they were taking their time, so I popped in to look at a cat, and she Jedi mind tricked me into getting her. So she's essentially a dog in a cat's body. So that's my fur family. I think that's it. That's all I've got for questions. So I'll give it another couple of moments. I don't really have much else to say. I see I have a few people hanging out, so I appreciate that. I didn't know if I'd just be talking to myself on this front, so thanks for sticking around. I know it's not the most like light topic in the universe, but I needed to get that out. So I'm hoping that the message itself, I'll probably cut that out, make it into a separate video, just for the sake of maybe other people that might need some encouragement, inspiration. Yeah, I don't have much else to say except any of you guys out there that are doing the social media thing, that's something I'm going to keep talking about more and more too. This is social media, but I mean like the less intimate forms like Twitter, etc., Facebook. Doing lots of social watching, really trying to figure out what's going on there. And I probably take it too seriously, but I'm genuinely concerned about the type of or the part of us that's like clicking into. So I'm going to be doing some videos on that just to give you guys an update too. Aside from music, been working with Dave. We're talking about a couple great new series coming up. There'll be some funny ones. I said I'm going to do some ex-lefty little skits or moments. I'm going to try to really be pouring out a lot more like weekly content, and I'll be keeping my e-transfer and PayPal up for now until I know what to do with some kind of platform. I don't want to go to Patreon, so I'll wait and see what else is around. I'm on Subscribestar, but it's not really very helpful at the moment. So I'll wait for see any more questions. Just a suggestion, think about combining hymns. Oh, that's a good idea, actually. I could make kind of a playlist, or yeah, I'll think about that. Thank you. I appreciate the advice. So yeah, no further ado, guys. If you have any more questions, by all means, you know where to find me. Feel free to leave a comment. If you have my email, feel free to shoot me an email or ask for it. I do have one just for this account. I'm slow at writing back. And also, I'm not getting all my notifications these days. So if you've been writing to me, anything like a reply to a comment. So if you comment and I write back and then you write me again, I often won't see that third comment. So if it's something really important, send me an email or just shoot me a brand new comment with a star and, lead me to whatever it is, because the notifications are just really hit and miss. They only like to show me the ones where people call me an idiot or a Zionist shill. So otherwise they're kind of blocking them or throwing them in spam. So I guess that's about it. Thank you for joining me. Oh, wait, one more quick little, what did I get for my birthday? Well, that's very nice to ask. Got some little bit of money from my mama and my papa, which is lovely, which is going to go towards repairing my piano now because I mostly paid for the computer. And I got a ring light, which was like part birthday, part Christmas present from both my dad and from Steve. So I actually have decent lighting, which I'm still figuring out. So yeah, pretty exciting on that front. And I just we ate some good food tonight and all that. So yeah, it was a good day in that sense. I would say the week building up to my birthday probably better than the actual day itself. But I'll be honest, I'm in a good place right now. At least I've made something good out of it, right? So we'll definitely do the thing with Derek again, maybe tomorrow. Once his stuff is up and running, I'll shoot out another announcement video, and we will maybe have him, myself, the guy from American Connect, and I can't remember the fourth person that had a birthday too. So should be fun. And okay, that's it. So unless anybody's madly typing, I'll give it like 25 seconds because I know that there's a lag sometimes. And then I'll probably head out and go relax for the rest of the evening. Oh, I see a typing motion. And I will, by the way, do some videos with my dog sometimes. They're just, Izzy's really squirmy. She doesn't stay still, so it's hard to get her in there. Oh, excellent. Oh, good stuff. Just some anti-Semitic stuff. Okay, cool. No, I knew that would happen, and that's fine. Just so you guys know, if you're like a total Jew hater, like this probably isn't the channel for you, and you'll probably think I'm a total idiot. So you're welcome to hang out here. I don't censor, but yeah, it's not my thing. Sorry. You'll probably have more fun with your time on someone else's channel, and God bless you. Okay, I'm going to leave it on that note. Thank you guys again, and have a beautiful evening. As always, be good to each other, not because the government tells you to. Take care.